Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all? Are you trying to tell me that Gal Gadot is jealous of Rachel Zegler?
I'm not here to
Whatever.
go. I'm not gonna go and violate
Rachel Zegler is a
in that sense.
perfectly attractive woman. I'm not saying she's ugly. She's not freaking Gal Gadot.
I will leave that in beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and you lean whichever way you want. I'm just saying, hey, because there could be some people right now who what they do at a picture of Rachel Zegler hey, we all know that Rachel Zegler could be someone's Jessica Alba, is all I'm saying.
Seek help.
Well, whatever it is. But here's the thing. This film has been plagued with back and forth and all sorts, and we've seen a whole multitude of screenshots. I'm going to go for Tyrion Lannister here as my biggest villain. Peter Dinklage. That took me a while to remember his name, Peter Dinklage. Because this film started, and it's called Snow White, and I was talking to the lady in the house when we went to go see the film, and I was like, it's not going to be called And the Seven Dwarfs. And she was like, you what? I'm like, pay attention. And I was actually waiting because I couldn't remember. So many things had happened along the way because it was dwarves, but then dwarves were offensive. So then we had the mystical people. Then we went back to dwarves. And then, guys, what did we settle on? Because guess what, Peter? You're right. It's offensive for the dwarf community to be called dwarves. And it's not me being rude when I say that. There is actually a dwarf community. How dare we try to have dwarves? So guess what? Instead of 7 people of a similar stature to yourself, Peter, being employed and then potentially being such big stars that they could have gone on to films just like you did, which didn't rely upon their stature, but their acting capability. We got this. Did the image come up? I may have got a bit excited. Here it is there. There we go. We got CGI. So it's Snow White and the 7 CGIs. Are you happy, Pete? Was the mission complete? Was the mission complete? Are you sleeping better at night, son? And I feel, I'm going to say this. This sounds so bad. Let me get cancelled. I don't care how many here once a month. No, that's not what I meant. But let me get cancelled. Let me get cancelled for this statement. He was jealous and scared. He's known Tyrion Lannister. Yeah, I'm saying it. I'm saying it. Tyrion Lannister is Tyrion Lannister. Oh, the short guy, the one who's funny. He's that one. He's funny. He's amazing. He's this, that, and the other. What happens if that's not your shtick because the others out there that you held back are actually better actors than you? Is that what it was? Are you scared that there could be potentially 7 other guys out there who could steal your limelight? Because why was that a problem? I'm down with Hornswoggle. I'm going with it. Dylan Postle. He was like, bring it along. Give me the role. And why was he not allowed to? Because the most famous actor of that stature. The most
famous dwarf actor, yes.
Yeah, of that stature. I'm not going to call it dwarf because apparently dwarf is offensive. How dare you try to make a film about 7 dwarves?
It's dwarf.
What have you done? You've created CGI over giving 7 dwarves a role.
You've basically taken work away from 7 actors.
Yeah. His voice. I will blame his voice. I'm not saying he's alone, but his voice. I really am happy that we don't have the 7 mystical characters of all different heights and looking like a United Colour of Benetton flipping advert. But to say...
I agree.
But to say that the end game in this was, instead of that, we're going to go for CG. And guess what? They're not going to be actors, but they're going to be the same height as the people we were going to cast. It's not like Toothless, who we couldn't hire a freaking dragon because they don't exist. People were out there and available to be hired. And it's not... Here's the thing, Pete. Yeah, I'm coming for you, bro. Here's the thing. It's not like we've taken Hugh Grant and made him an Oompa Loompa, is it? We could have hired 7 dwarves, but no. And it's not that we took 7... It's not like we said, you know what? Let's take De Niro as grumpy. Let's take Jim Carrey as sleepy or dopey. Let's take this one as that. Let's take this and that, and then we'll shrink them all down. No, we could have had 7 people, but you're there. I think you
could have made, at best, 7 new stars. At worst, you could have discovered a new acting star like a Peter Dinklage.
You could have. Because right now, there's a dwarf comedian I'm aware of. There's the one from Bad Santa, Peter Dinklage. There's the English guy who does that stuff with, is it An Idiot Abroad or something? He recently lost his wife, I thought.
Warwick Davis.
Yeah, Warwick Davis. So I said Warwick Davis, Peter Dinklage, the comedian, the black guy from Elf, Hornswoggle. That would have been 5. Take Pete out of it. But because of his statement, guess what? Even the other 4 haven't got a place in life right now.
It's very sad. It's the nuance of it, I'm not even playing devil's advocate. I'm just seeing it from the other side. I think obviously what Dinklage is advocating is he wants dwarves to not just be cast in these stereotypical roles where they're like little people with beards who live in the mines and dig up jewels. He doesn't want actual human dwarves to only be fitting into the bill of representing fantasy dwarves as described in fantasy books. He wants there to be dwarves. I imagine, which is why I don't agree with your jealousy take, but it's fine. I imagine he wants a better world for the dwarf community where they're represented the way he has been, where he's done things like Tyrion Lannister, Cyrano de Bergerac, things like that, right?
Can I just say something about
where he's missing the point, I think, is that that's very idealistic. It's where I think we all want it to be, but it's like a gateway drug, isn't it? You need to have that first step in. You're not going to come up with complete unknown actors and put them in major roles without having tested the waters first. This is an easy way to test the waters because the roles are naturally written. The propensity of writers isn't going to be to naturally write dwarf-sized characters in their films because dwarves don't represent the societal norm, they represent the societal exceptions, right? So generally writers, no, that's a fact. Generally writers, generally writers, they pull for societal norms. Men of an average height of sort of 5'8" to 6'1" on average, not always. Women of an average height, and then they emphasize the qualities which traditionally and societally we deem to be attractive. Certain size breasts, a certain size curve, depending on what community you're representing and stuff like that, right? You refine it a bit more then, but your baseline is never going to be dwarf character. Not never, but very rarely going to be dwarf character. Here, it's done for you. You don't need to go out of your way to create the roles for dwarfs. The dwarf roles are there, and off the back of that, you could discover 1, 2, maybe more new stars that could have then transcended or transitioned, into roles like playing Drax in X-Men like Dinklage did, or playing Tyrion Lannister like Dinklage did, or playing Cyrano like Dinklage did, or playing a number of other roles, which, because he's a fine actor and people know he's a fine actor, he transcended being a dwarf and was just known as a great actor.
That's what I would have liked to have seen. But here's the thing, even with Bergerac, he played on his stature, because where Bergerac was meant to be appeal, when they redone the film, it was based on his height. Oh, she would never fall for me because of that. That's how they changed it. So you can embrace it when you need to. And this is what bugs me. This is what bugs me, is that we're talking about, if he used an ounce of his brain, it would have been like, guys, we're not just singing hi-ho. We're not doing what the cartoon done. We need to develop the characters and show why she needs these 7. And guess what? The sad thing is, it's going to probably be shown. And how? As CG. So who gets the credit for that? This is where I'm upset. Excuse me. This is where the development comes. It's like saying we're not going to use kids to play the Lost Boys in Hook. It's just as bad. That's the thing. I believe children should get better roles. Well, yeah, okay, not everyone's Macaulay Culkin. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to start somewhere. And I know it's a poor example because I couldn't tell you what one of the Lost Boys are doing now from that bloody film. But the point I'm trying to make is, give it a shot. Let's see what can happen. If it didn't work out, you know what? At least we tried. But here we are in a CG world. Snow White and the 7 CGs. Are you happy, son?
It's ridiculous. I agree.
I get it. I get it. That's not all we should be. But hey, guess what? What are you doing? Why do the same way we're celebrating Maggie Gyllenhaal doing The Bride of Frankenstein? Where's the Dinklage movie for those 6 other stars who should have got a role?
I'll tell you what I can't call with this movie is I can't call whether it's going to be a success or not, because it can go in a number of ways. But let me break this down. It could go the way where the kind of, I think you and me identify as kind of centralist when it comes to these kind of taboo spectrum-y debates. But, you've got sort of ultra radical woke left who, if you say that a black person shouldn't play a white role, you're called racist, or if you say that a dwarf should be cast in a dwarf role, you're called dwarfist or something. Like, the people who like have their heart in the right place, but they're too quick to jump down your throat. I wonder if they're going to come out in force in support of the movie as a kind of defiance. That can happen. Happened with Wicked when it started to get some negative coverage. Boy, did people come out in force to support that movie. It could happen, people like you and me, because I'm probably gonna see it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've got a morbid curiosity almost of how bad is it really gonna be? Like, there's that curiosity in my mind that's like, ugh, I kind of do want to see it. For not for the right reasons, but what reasons? My money will go towards paying for whatever my reasons are. That adds to the bottom line. Or has this now become so taboo that nobody's going to freaking see it? Like, the people would have realized it's wrong what's happened to the dwarves. The casting's ridiculous. We're bored of these live action Disney remakes. There could be a perfect melting pot where this goes bust. I don't know how to call this one.
Can I ask you a question? Because I can't answer it. I can, but I can't in the same breath because it's not as direct. Not as the cinema goer, not as the man who's aware of all the madness that has plagued it. You know, not as the silver screen dude. As a parent, are you intrigued to take your child to this film?
She's too young for a live action movie. I would imagine if she was a few years older, because here's the thing. I just showed her Snow White for the first time. She loved it. Few parts were scary for her. Like, you know, the queen and the whole turning into the scary witch at the end. That freaked her out a bit. But I'm also of the opinion now that it's okay to fuck her up a little bit. It's all good. And, you know, we haven't gone down the Bambi Lion King route yet. Just little things to just toughen the skin a bit. Scary, but you can handle it. Daddy's here. Give me a hug. You're fine. I think if she was a little bit older and was fully into Snow White, I'd probably take her to see it. Yeah, I probably would because I know she'd want to.
This is where I think
because for a kids movie, you're selling double.
This is where the penny wins because you get those parents. I think it's going to be.
Put it this way: there's no political agenda when I take my daughter to see a movie in the cinema.
But it
would be one of those, irrespective of whether I think this movie looks like trash or not. And let's say I was one of the people who was like, veto, F this movie, I'm not seeing it. Right? Tell you what would make me break that? Leia telling me, Daddy, can you take me to see Snow White? It would melt me. In a heartbeat, I go. All those agendas would be gone. Of course, daughter, let's go.
Here's the thing, and this is where I'm at. I think it's going to make middle money, and I say middle money because I think that's what Little Mermaid done. Because there are some people who, no matter what happens, are a parent and will do it. But then there's that other side of parents who are going to be like, that's not the same way Annie tanked because she was black. The same way that Little Mermaid not tanked, but didn't make the money it could have because it's Halle Berry and not, you know, Halle Bailey, sorry, and not
Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah, you know. And it's the same here. They're going to be like, who's this Latina trying to be Snow White? She's not pure skin as white as snow, which in essence, that is one of the key elements to her thing. If you want to change the story, like we've changed everything else, it was a snowy December's day. And I have a pure heart, pure as snow. That's why I'm called Snow White. Let it be. Don't say if you say her skin is white as snow, even I'm going to be like, bro, you're done messed up. That's where the elements tick off. And I think that's where if you're down,
they're going to, by the way, 100% they're going to. I'm calling it now.
They said something in the trailer that kind of gave me a hint. I'm not that prophetic, I'm going to be honest. But you know, it's a case of there are people who just can't get over. What I hate about our generation is our generation are the generation of parents, but there are some people who are so set in their ways that our version of it was the best. Even if it was a digitally reanimated version of Snow White, that's not the Snow White I know. You know, there are people out here now, and I say it again, witches that are so upset that the character didn't turn back into a little boy. Well, guess what, you numpty? If you read the book, you stayed a rat. You know, you're so ingrained in stuff that you can't go beyond. And it's weird that the least favorite movies probably had the most talk time out of all the films that we've listed. But I'm torn. I've said it before. I kind of said it jokingly before. I'm going to go and see this film just to wind people up. Let's put a penny that way. But here's the thing. I've seen Mufasa. I've seen Wicked. I've seen The Little Mermaid. That intrigue will always be there. It took me a while, but I went and watched Aladdin. I've seen The Lion King. Stories that I love, I will always go and check.
Yeah.
That's me.
It's a safe bet. It's a safe bet.
You can ruin it. You can ruin it.
Well,
But
I don't even say it ruins anything. You walk out going, well, this didn't work. I've still got the original, thank God.
Mean Girls. Mean Girls is the perfect definition of that.
Yeah.
I was apprehensive as hell, and they proved me right while I was apprehensive. Shouldn't have touched it. Piss off.
But does it make you dislike the original any less?
Oh no. No.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying, do you know what I mean? But there are some people who have given up because they're like, that Beauty and the Beast was not as good as what I enjoyed. That Aladdin wasn't there. He wasn't blue. Da, 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 da. All right, cool, whatever. I'll still go back and watch my cartoon. But some people have drawn that line. They don't know how to do it. It's all remakes. So we'll never know. It will be a mystery. But I do encourage people to go and watch it. I'm least anticipated because I hate what's happened with the dwarves.
Definitely. Out of curiosity, I want to see it. There's a lot to be said about, if the families go, that money goes up quickly. But I am curious to see the way society and pop culture are going to embrace or not embrace this movie. It's very interesting.